the word somatically means. So that means like feeling in the body, like what it feels like. Um, yeah. So I think, yeah. मैं ऐसी हिंदी में बताऊंगा. तो ये प्रॉम्प्ट ये पूछ रहा है कि जब हम बहुत ही कॉन्फिडेंटली हकलाते हैं, लाइक जोश से या बुलंद तरीके से जब हकलाते हैं, तो हम कैसे कैसे महसूस करते हैं शरीर में, कि कैसे महसूस करते हैं, और कैसे दिखता है, and also कैसे कैसे like और लोगों को सुनाई देता है. तो एंड दो चीज से, लाइक हम कैसे महसूस करते हैं, एंड ऑल्सो जो लोग हमें हमें सुन रहे हैं या देख रहे हैं, उन लोगों को हम कैसे दिखते हैं या सुनाई देते हैं. तो यस, that's the question of prompt for today.
Thank you, Dhruv. Thank you so much. So let me begin by asking a question from everyone. Has anyone played a very complex game like cricket or bungee jumping or Bharatnatyam? किसी ने ये सब चीजें करी है, भरतनाट्यम, जिसमें बदन का इस्तेमाल होता है, बदन का? ऐसा कोई खेल या ऐसी कोई कला किसी ने सीखी है या करी है, जैसे डांसिंग या मार्शल आर्ट्स या प्लेइंग क्रिकेट या और कोई गेम जिसमें स्किल भी इन्वॉल्व होता है, जिसमें सिर्फ सिर्फ ऐसे किसी को पीटना नहीं है या कुछ ऐसा बॉल को मारना नहीं है, बल्कि स्टाइल से मारना है? जैसे आप क्रिकेट में हल्का सा स्विंग करते हैं, या जैसे आप आउटर एज पे बैट बॉल को खेलते हैं. मैंने कभी खेला नहीं क्रिकेट, बहुत कम खेला है, तो मैं इसीलिए आप लोगों से पूछ रहा हूँ कि क्या किसी ने ऐसा कोई गेम खेला जहाँ पे मैनुअल स्किल, डेक्सटेरिटी जिसको बोलते हैं, डेक्सटेरिटी इन्वॉल्व होती है? प्लीज रेज योर हैंड इफ यू played any such game which requires manual dexterity. Like I can give you many examples. Like when we were children, we used to play gilli danda, and in gilli danda you have to hit the gilli and then you have to give it a whack in such a way that it doesn't go up but it goes far. या किसी बच्चे ने बचपन में अपने कंचे खेले होंगे, तो कंचे खेलने में कैसे आप दूसरे के कंचे को मारते हैं. तो ऐसा कोई गेम आपको याद आ रहा है, अभी हाल में खेला है पिछले 1-2 सालों में, या किसी ने बिलियर्ड्स खेला हो या बैडमिंटन खेला हो, कोई भी गेम? प्लीज रेज योर हैंड. डोंट don't tell me that you've been so busy stammering all your life that you have never played any such game. हाँ, स्विमिंग भी शामिल है. यस, हाँ हाँ हाँ, स्विमिंग भी शामिल है. यस. तो डॉक्टर विजय से हम बात करते हैं स्विमिंग के बारे में. सो डॉक्टर विजय, कैन यू आंसर माय क्वेश्चंस? आर यू रीजनेबली फ्री ऑफ डिस्ट्रैक्शन?
While swimming, yeah.
हाँ डॉक्टर विजय.
Right now or while
नो
swimming?
नो 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 नो, while swimming. Just tell me, when you are, how long have you been swimming?
Uh, Doing the swimming was my bucket list issue. So I started swimming like 2 years back, and so I have learned swimming now.
Okay.
So I can swim for continuously for about 1.5 hours. So in the pond only, but 1.5 hour continuously. And but that
Amazing.
gives me
Amazing.
the lot of these things, the
Amazing.
freedom from
Amazing.
the thought, the
Okay.
meditation, then
Okay. Now
the
tell me one
psychological
thing.
stuff.
Now tell me one
Yeah,
thing. In
yeah.
swimming, have you learned any technical thing like butterfly stroke or s- you know s- स्विमिंग ऑन योर बैक? हैव
Yeah,
यू
yeah,
लर्न
yeah. So I
एनी
have
टेक्निकल
learned.
थिंग?
So I have.
हाँ
Sir, I have learned the best thing which I was thinking to learn is to
हाँ,
do the meditation pose while swimming. Means
ओके
I cannot explain this in English. लेकिन
ओके
हम
ओके,
पैर के ऊपर पैर ऐसा रख के
हाँ
हाथ
हाँ
में
हाँ,
मेडिटेशन के पोज में कितनी देर तक रह सकते हैं। तो
ठीक
ये
है
मैंने सीखा है सर। एंड
ठीक है
so I have
ठीक,
tried this and for
हाँ
half an hour continuously I can do that.
ठीक
तो
है ओके,
वो मुझे बहुत अच्छा लगता है, ये मैं कर
ठीक है।
पाया। ये
अच्छा, 1.5 साल पहले आपने सीखना जब शुरू किया था, तो आपने
या
कैसे सीखा था? कैसे सीखा, किससे सीखा था?
सर मैंने सीखने के लिए तो मैं पौंड में ही किया मैंने, और
अच्छा अच्छा अच्छा,
मेरी
ठीक
वाइफ
है
के साथ मैंने शुरू किया।
ठीक है, क्या बात
तो
है,
मैं कर भी नहीं पा
परफेक्ट।
रहा सर, एक महीना मुझे कुछ 1 महीना तक तो मुझे कुछ आया नहीं। वो सब बोल रहे थे कि आपको आ
हाँ
रही है स्विमिंग, लेकिन
हाँ,
मुझे लग रहा था कि मैं डूब ही रहा हूँ। तो
अच्छा
मतलब वो सेल्फ कॉन्फिडेंस नहीं था। बाद में
अच्छा,
पता नहीं कैसे एक दिन मुझे लगा कि मुझे आ रहा है, तो आ ही गए फिर।
हाँ। अच्छा, उस दिन क्या हुआ था जिस दिन कॉन्फिडेंस
हाँ
आया? उस दिन क्या नोटिस किया आपने? क्या
सर
महसूस किया?
सर मैंने तो वाइफ ने मुझे कहा शी इज बेस्ट स्विमर। वो तो
हाँ,
बड़ी स्विमर है वो। मतलब
अच्छा
लंबे लंबे वो मैं 4 4 5 5 घंटे कर सकती हूँ स्विमिंग। तो
अच्छा,
उसने मुझे
ठीक है।
बताया कि देखो तुम क्या करो,
हम्म
एकदम कम
हम्म
डिस्टेंस पे जाओ, यू टू स्मॉल डिस्टेंस, और कल बढ़ाओ,
हम्म,
उसके बाद बढ़ाते बढ़ाते जाओ। हम हर वीक
ठीक
में
है
जाते थे शनिवार को। तो
ठीक है
सर पहले पहले मैंने बस मुझे लगता है 5 फीट, 5 फीट का टारगेट था मेरा। ओनली फाइव
ठीक
फीट
है
5 फीट
ठीक
जाना
है
है। तो मैं
ठीक
बहुत
है
जोर जोर से हाथ पैर मार के मैं गया फाइव
ठीक है
फीट बस पकड़ लिया उसको, हो गया। उसके बाद सेवन
ठीक है
फीट 10 फीट फिर से 10 फीट के
ठीक है
बाद में मुझे मुझे फिर किसी ने बताने की जरूरत नहीं पड़ी। मैं एक एक घंटा
ठीक है,
पर करने लगा।
ओके, गुड गुड
ये
गुड।
ये
तो जब आप 7 फीट आप करने लगे, तो आपको
या 5 फीट
हाँ, 5 फीट जब करने लगे, तो फिजिकल
या
कोई सेंसेशन आपको अंदर, फिजिकल कोई सेंसेशन महसूस हुआ बदन में कि मेरा बदन अब ज्यादा ऐसे है, पहले ऐसे हो जाता था, अब मेरे हाथ थोड़े से ऐसे चल रहे हैं, पहले ऐसे ऐसे होते थे? ऐसा कुछ आपने नोट किया
हाँ
था?
फिजिकल से ज्यादा सर मुझे ऐसा लगा कि ये तो मैं कर रहा था सर, 1 महीने से
अच्छा
मैं वही कर रहा था। लेकिन
अच्छा,
पता नहीं मुझे कंटिन्यूस ये फील हो रहा था कि मुझे आ नहीं रहा है। तो मुझे 5 फीट के बाद में जब मुझे लगा कि ये मुझे आ रहा है, तो मुझे ईज फील हुआ सर उसमें। मैं पहले बहुत जोर जोर से हाथ पैर मारता था उसके लिए। हाँ लेकिन वो जरूरी नहीं था, वो
ठीक है
बोलती थी मुझे
ठीक है
कि ये
ठीक है,
तुम बहुत थक
तो
रहे हो, अननेसरी अननेसरी पेन ले, इसकी जरूरत नहीं है, तुम कंफर्टेबली
अच्छा।
ऐसा कर सकते हो। लेकिन मुझे लगे नहीं, मैं तो डूब जाऊंगा यहाँ पर, है ना। इस तरह
अच्छा अच्छा, मैं समझ गया। तो एक पॉइंट जो अभी आपने बोला है, यू बेटर राइट इट डाउन समवेयर, कि अ, मैं सब कुछ पहले भी वैसे ही कर रहा था, लेकिन एक दिन मुझे लगा कि मैं बहुत ज्यादा जोर लगा रहा हूँ। मुझे किसी ने बोला कि तुम बहुत ज्यादा जोर लगा रहे हो, थोड़ा सा आराम से करो। और आपने आराम से किया और वो होना शुरू हो गया। यही हुआ था ना? वाइफ
बस
ने ही
सही
तो
हुआ
बोला
सर,
आपको ना कि आप बहुत ज्यादा जोर लगा
यही
रहे
है।
हो?
नहीं वाइफ
यही
में
हुआ
सर
ना?
2 साल से बोल रही थी कि तुझे फीलिंग
हाँ,
आती है, लेकिन मुझे
अच्छा,
मुझे नहीं था, अंदर से नहीं लग रहा था कि मुझे आती है।
हाँ हाँ, अच्छा
हाँ तो
अच्छा। इसका
आई
मतलब ये है
डिड द
कि
सेम।
इसका मतलब ये है कि कभी कभी हमारा परसेप्शन और जो दूसरे में देख के बता रहे हैं, दोनों में काफी फर्क होता है। आप, हमें लगता है कि हम
हाँ
अगर
बहुत
हाथ पांव
फर्क
नहीं
होता है,
मारेंगे तो डूब
बहुत
जाएंगे,
ज्यादा।
है ना? और वाइफ जो देख रहा है वो कह रहा है
श्योर श्योर, लेकिन मेरा रिदम
कि
चल
तुम
रहा था।
ज्यादा हाथ पांव मार रहे हो।
हाँ, बहुत ज्यादा, बहुत ज्यादा।
हाँ ठीक है,
हाँ
मतलब मैं ये
एक्सेसिव,
कहना चाह रहा हूँ,
अननेसेसरी एक्सेसिव।
हाँ मतलब मैं ये कहना चाह रहा हूँ कि कई बार ऐसा होता है कि हमारा जो समझ है, हम जो कर रहे हैं उसके बारे में, और दूसरा जो देख के बता रहा है कि तुम इसमें ज्यादा जोर लगा रहे हो, ये दोनों एस्टिमेट थोड़े फर्क हो सकते हैं। हमें लग सकता है कि हम तो
सही
एकदम
बात।
ठीक ही कर रहे हैं, मगर फिर भी हम तैर नहीं पा रहे हैं। और जो देख रहा है वो कहता है नहीं, तुम बहुत ज्यादा जोर लगा रहे हो, थोड़ा जोर कम लगाओ, इजीली करो, हो जाएगा। और हम पाते हैं कि उसका कहना सही था। इज दैट राइट?
उसके लिए टाइम लगा सर, लेकिन मुझे मैंने
हाँ ठीक
खुद
है
किया
ठीक है,
5 फीट, तब मुझे समझ में आया कि ये सही है।
हाँ
और वही जो जोर में 2 फीट के लिए, मतलब जितना थक रहा था सर, इतना ज्यादा थक रहा था मैं कि
हम्म,
2 फीट भी स्विमिंग करूं मैं तो भी मेरे
हम्म।
पैर में क्रैम्प आते थे। तो मुझे लगता था कि मेरी बॉडी बहुत वीक है, लेकिन बॉडी वीक
समझ।
नहीं थी, टेक्निक गलत था सर।
अब सब लोग इस बात को गांठ बांध लो। पुट इट इन द बैक ऑफ योर हेड that sometimes we do the same mistake when we are practicing techniques. I am going, ahead of myself. I should not be talking about this right now, but this is such a interesting observation that I cannot help, put it on a par with our technique practice. Sometimes we exert too much. Sometimes we use too much pressure and force, and therefore techniques don't work because putting too much pressure and force on ourselves is the problem, not the solution for us. Stammering is already a manifestation of us putting too much pressure on ourselves. So therefore, how can that be a solution? And that is what Dr. Vijay's experience also supports, of course, in a very different way. His experience is about swimming, and I'm talking about stammering, but there's some kind of relevance there. Okay, now I want to go to Manish. After that, I'll be coming to Dhruv. You also get ready for your with your swimming or whatever.
जब मैं छोटा था, 9 या 10 साल में होगा, या मेरे
हाँ,
15 साल के आसपास होगा, तो
ठीक
मैंने
है।
कराटे सीखे थे, कराटे।
अच्छा, ठीक है।
और अभी फिलहाल मैंने 1 साल पहले
हम्म,
गाड़ी ड्राइविंग सीखी है।
ठीक है। तो आपने जब बचपन में जब कराटे करते थे आप, तो कराटे में
हाँ जी।
आपने कौन कौन सी किक सीखी थी? क्या आपने बटरफ्लाई किक सीखी थी, 360 डिग्री?
हाँ, कोशिश। वो जैसे अक्षय कुमार करता है,
हाँ, हाँ, हाँ।
अक्षय कुमार वाली जो स्टाइल है, वो ट्राई
उछल
की
के
थी।
दोनों पांव से, हाँ हाँ, अच्छा। अच्छा।
उछल के पीछे की
हाँ,
तरफ पैर घुमा के,
हाँ, हाँ,
जैसे
हाँ, हाँ,
कई
हाँ,
बार मैंने देखा है।
हाँ, 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 हाँ।
वो भी की थी
तो
मैंने।
तो वो आप कर पाते थे, वो आप कर पाते थे?
हाँ, कर पाता
अच्छा,
था
और
उस
जब
टाइम।
जब आप कर पाते थे, तो आपका बॉडी हुई आपको फीडबैक देती थी कि हाँ, इस बार तुमने सही किया है? गुड इवनिंग डॉक्टर अमित।
गुड 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 इवनिंग सर, गुड इवनिंग।
So right now I am cross-examining. I am
ओ, खुद
cross-examining
मत खाओ।
Manish. Manish about his karate practice when he was a child. So
हाँ,
Manish is telling me that he was able to do a particular kind of kick, which a Bollywood actor Akshay Kumar does very beautifully. So I want to know
ओके।
from him. तो मनीष बताइए, जब आप सही किक मारते थे, तो आपको कैसे पता चलता था कि ये किक सही जगह लगी है? क्या ऐसा, मतलब लोग कहते थे कि इस बार किक सही लगी तुम्हारी, ऐसा होता था?
हाँ, कुछ तो खुद को भी, जब हम करते थे, खुद को
हम्म।
भी करते हुए अच्छा लगता था कि हाँ, मैंने सही किया है।
स्टॉप,
और
स्टॉप, 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 स्टॉप। खुद को करते हुए जो अच्छा लगता था, उसको जरा और समझाओ हम लोग को आप, कि जब सही किक कोई मारता है, तो बदन हमें क्या फीडबैक देता है? बदन कैसे बताता है कि इस बार तुम्हारी किक सही जगह लगी है? उसके बारे में जरा और गहराई से बताओ आप सोच करके।
जब सही किक लगती है, तो अंदर
हाँ,
से आता है कि मैं जो करना चाह रहा था, जो मैं
हाँ,
सीख
हाँ।
रहा था, वो काफी
हम्म।
हद तक मैंने सीख लिया है।
हाँ,
और बाकी लास्ट में हमारा एक मैच हुआ था, मैच बोलेंगे या फाइनल, जिसमें
हम्म,
हम परफॉर्म करते हैं।
ठीक है,
तो और वो वहां पर टीवी के ऊपर भी लाइव हो रहा था।
ठीक है,
उसमें भी काफी अच्छा प्रदर्शन रहा था,
ठीक
काफी
है,
अच्छा रहा था, तो उससे भी
ठीक
काफी
है,
कॉन्फिडेंस बढ़ा था।
ठीक है। मैं थोड़ा सा इसमें और गहराई में जानना मांगता हूँ मनीष, कि अगर मान लीजिए वो किक, आप जब किक मारते हैं और लोग देख रहे हैं, ताली बजाते हैं, या आपका इंस्ट्रक्टर कहता है कि हाँ, इस बार सही किक लगी, अगर
हाँ
इस
जी।
सारी चीजों को हम निकाल दें, इसको हम निकाल दें, और अगर हम ये भी निकाल दें कि आप खुद देख पा रहे हैं, अगर मान लीजिए अंधेरा है, अंधेरे में आप वो किक मार रहे हैं,
हाँ जी।
तो आप खुद नहीं देख पा रहे हैं, क्योंकि आप पंचिंग बैग नहीं है, अंधेरा है, आप नहीं देख पा रहे हैं, कोई बताने वाला भी नहीं है। ऐसे में अगर आप सही किक मार रहे हैं तो क्या आपका बदन आपको बताएगा कि हाँ इस बार किक सही थी?
हाँ, जरूर बताएगा। क्योंकि जब हम गलत या सही लगती है तो हमें
हाँ
लगाते लगाते एहसास हो जाता है कि हम सही
हाँ
कर रहे हैं या गलत कर रहे हैं।
हाँ, बिल्कुल सही। तो अभी जो ध्रुव ने बोला सोमैटिकली, वो उसका मतलब यही था कि जहाँ पे आपका अपना बदन आपको फीडबैक दे रहा है कि हाँ इस बार किक सही जगह लगी। बहुत बार क्या होता है कि लोग कहते हैं, लोग इस सवाल के जवाब में ये भी कहते हैं कि जब सही किक लगती है तो पंचिंग बैग से सही आवाज आती है। पंचिंग बैग से एक सही आवाज आती है। अगर वो सही आवाज नहीं आई तो उसका मतलब पंच मतलब ठीक नहीं लगा। लेकिन हम आप इससे भी एक कदम आगे जा रहे हैं जहां पे आपका बदन आपको बता रहा है। और बदन कैसे बता रहा है? बदन के अंदर सेंसेशंस चल रहे हैं ना। जब आप किक मार के जमीन पे गिरते हैं तो आपके घुटनों में हल्का सा जर्क आता है। वो बताते हैं कि आपकी लैंडिंग सही थी कि नहीं सही थी। जब आप लैंड हुए तो आप एक तरफ को झुके हुए तो नहीं थे। जब आप लैंड हुए तो आप लड़खड़ा के गिर तो नहीं गए थे, डिसबैलेंस तो नहीं हुए थे। ये सारी बातें बदन ही बता रहा है, वो चाहे कोई दूसरा बताए या ना बताए। तो उसी तरह से हम यहाँ पे बात कर रहे हैं कि जब आप आराम से हकलाते हैं तो आपका बदन क्या बताता है। क्या बदन कुछ बताता भी है या नहीं बताता है? क्या आपने उसे सुनने का प्रयास किया कि नहीं किया? After doing voluntary stammering, do you stop and listen to your body telling you that, okay, this time it was really voluntary, it was comfortable? ऐसा कभी होता है?
दूसरों हाँ, अकेले में तो वॉलंटरी स्टैमरिंग आराम से हो जाती है।
हाँ।
दूसरों के सामने वॉलंटरी स्टैमरिंग में भी थोड़ी और
नहीं 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 नहीं
मेहनत
नहीं, हम लोग
करनी
यहाँ हाँ, नहीं नहीं, ये अगला स्टेप है। हम अभी इसी स्टेप पे हैं कि जब वॉलंटरी स्टैमिंग आप करते हैं तो आपका बॉडी आपको फीडबैक देता है कि नहीं देता है। वो वाला फीडबैक जो आप जब किक करते हैं तब जो आप बता रहे थे कि बॉडी बताती है कि हाँ किक सही लगी है। तो
जी।
उस किस्म का फीडबैक आपकी बॉडी क्या आपको देती है? क्या
हाँ,
आपने कभी उसको
देती है।
सुनने का प्रयास किया है? तो
हाँ,
उसके ऊपर हम फोकस करेंगे। उसके ऊपर हम फोकस करेंगे। सो लेट मी हैंड इट ओवर टू डॉक्टर अमित। ही विल फर्दर अनपैक दिस आइडिया। बॉडी टेलिंग यू एंड ऑडियंस टेलिंग यू, दोनों में डिफरेंस और दोनों के रेमिफिकेशंस। ओवर टू
Can
डॉक्टर अमित।
you give me some more context for this conversation a little bit? I came in a bit later. Sorry about
हाँ
that. I
हाँ हाँ।
thought that I
वी
got
वर
that I'm wrong today. Sorry about that.
No, 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 it's okay. We were
Go ahead.
discussing the this prompt, and let me share this prompt here also. It's the same one which we shared. What does stammering with confidence feel like somatically and look like visually and audibly? This
Okay,
can be
got it.
from both perspectives, self and listeners. So we were just discussing how does a manual skill which requires dexterity,
Mm,
like playing cricket or swimming, how do we get this kind of bodily feedback in these other skills? So Manish was talking about learning martial arts when he was a child and doing a special kind of kick. And
mm,
Vijay talked about swimming. Last 1.5 years he has been learning swimming, and for
mm,
initially for many days he was not happy with his own performance. And then after some time, after some days, one day he got the feeling that okay, I got it. And he got some feedback from his wife that you are putting too much effort. You are splashing water too much.
mm. And I believe you referenced Dhruv. You said something as well. Do you want to just, I guess, maybe repeat it because I wasn't there for that one.
I think we can ask Dhruv also to unpack it further and share his own examples also.
Yeah,
Over to
yeah.
Dhruv.
Okay. Yeah. So I was like just just unpacking what a somatic means. So like how it kind of like means what you feel in the body. That's what I had said, really. Um, I can share more about like how I learned basketball.
Go on.
Growing up.
Go on.
Um, so yeah, I think in the beginning, I kind of like like began like copying other people. Like I trying to like put the ball between the legs or how to shoot and stuff like that. So I just watched people and then copy them. But I think over time, with more practice, I began to kind of feel like I knew, well, when like I was making a good shot and also just dribbling and stuff, like I'd feel like a rhythm or a flow. Over time that sort of ease with the basketball emerged. Yeah, so like my like to kind of connect to this, my body knew when like I was sort of in, like in rhythm, and then I began enjoying myself and all of that. So yeah, so I think over time our body learns what is the, like, I don't know what to say, like the right movement or right sort of like flow of the body when you're doing any type of skill, and then that it's going well and you feel confident. Um, yeah, yeah.
Um, okay. I guess my input in this is that there are many different types of feedbacks. यहाँ पे तो हम somatic feedback के बारे में बोल रहे हैं, उसको टेक्निकली, वेरी टेक्निकली इसको proprioceptive feedback भी बुलाते हैं. Just to unpack that term a little bit, proprioception जो बुलाते हैं, you can look it up on Google, is basically is feedback from large muscles, tendons, and joints. That's the technical definition of proprioceptive feedback. So जब हम हाथ चला रहे हैं, like if I want to move my right arm in an arch, अगर ऐसे मुझे करना है, तो मेरी जो large muscles हैं, tendons and joints हैं, ये मुझको feedback दे रहे हैं कि मेरा जो target है, मेरी मूवमेंट जो है वो टारगेट के साथ मैच कर रही है या नहीं मैच कर रही है. इसका स्ट्रेट फॉरवर्ड उदाहरण होगा कि अगर मैं आंखें बंद करके, and we can all try this for fun, आंखें बंद करके अगर हम मैं अगर आर्म को, राइट आर्म को, अगर मैं अब मैं आंख, so I'm going to try this now, आंखें बंद करके राइट आर्म को स्विंग करके जो मेरी उंगली है, इंडेक्स फिंगर की उंगली है, उसको मैं नाक के ऊपर लगाऊं, दैट्स प्रोप्रियोसेप्टिव फीडबैक ऑल अलोंग द वे. अगर मेरा जो टारगेट है कि मुझको उंगली जो है, उंगली की टिप जो है नाक के टिप के ऊपर लगानी है, देन इट इज मैचिंग द पर्टिकुलर टारगेट. ये प्रोप्रियोसेप्टिव फीडबैक जो है हमको हकलाहट में भी मिलता है, क्योंकि हमें 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 एहसास होता है कि ये जो शब्द जो आने वाला है, जो मैं बोलने वाला हूँ, इसके ऊपर मैं हकलाऊंगा, राइट. जो तो एंटिसिपेशन जो है, एक्सपेक्टेंसी जो है, स्टैमरिंग में जो एंटिसिपेशन है, एक्सपेक्टेंसी जो है, ये दिस इज ऑल्सो proprioceptive feedback that we know based on multiple instances in the past कि इस शब्द में इस शब्द में हकलाहट हुई थी, इस साउंड में हकलाहट हुई थी. तो बॉडी जो है ये सब कुछ रजिस्टर करती है, ये स्टोर करती है हमारा शरीर. दैट इज वाई वी नो वेरी क्लियरली कि मैं इस शब्द के ऊपर हकलाऊंगा, क्योंकि द वर्ड इज फॉर्म्ड, stammered in our heads. How do we know that? There's a bodily sensation that has been stored in various parts of the body. So that's one feedback. The other feedback is listener feedback. जैसे आपने डॉक्टर विजय की एग्जांपल दी थी, he may not be aware that he's splashing when he's learning to swim, but his wife knows. She can see him. So that's the feedback from a listener, feedback from a coach, any of those kinds of things. So there are, clearly there's also, if you want to get technical about it, there's multimodality feedback in the body. So there's the visual feedback, the auditory feedback, and then the sensory feedback. All of these feedbacks are integrated with anything that we do. इसीलिए one of the phenomenons that we know very well is slip of tongue. जब हम कुछ बोलना चाहते हैं और कोई उल्टा बोल देते हैं, तो हमारी बॉडी इंस्टेंटली अवेयर हो जाती है कि मैंने कुछ उल्टा बोल दिया. So we go back to correct it. That is also part of the same feedback system. But I think there's the internal feedback. If I want to just summarize this, there's the internal feedback, which includes sensory feedback, and then the external feedback, which is from the listener, which is from the environment. And we put it all together. So obviously, जब हम जब हम हकलाते हैं तो समटाइम्स लिसनर के एडवर्स रिएक्शंस होते हैं, नेगेटिव रिएक्शंस होते हैं, लोग हंसते हैं या कुछ भी करते हैं, तो वो फीडबैक जो है हमको मिलता है, उसके 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 मुताबिक हम डिसाइड करते हैं कि अगली बार हमें बोलना है, नहीं बोलना, कैसे बोलना है. So all this is very much part of the stammering experience. Feedback is very much part of the stammering experience. Um, इस चीज को जो है अगर वॉलंटरी स्टैमरिंग के कॉन्टेक्स्ट में अगर हम लें, तो अगर मैं डिसाइड कर रहा हूँ अभी कि मुझको लाइट वॉलंटरी स्टैमरिंग करनी है, जैसे कि अब मैं कर रहा हूँ लाइट वॉलंटरी स्टैमरिंग, हर दो शब्दों के बाद मैं थोड़ी सी रेपिटेशन डाल रहा हूँ इसमें, तो मेरी बॉडी फीडबैक दे रही है कि हाँ ठीक है, आई एम ऑन ट्रैक, कि ये लाइट स्टैमरिंग ही है, ये टाइट स्टैमरिंग नहीं है, ये नकली स्टैमरिंग है, ये असली स्टैमरिंग नहीं है. तो ऑब्वियसली relying on this feedback is what we do on a regular basis. So that is my, I don't know if that answers the question in any way, but or that explains it. But I think it's like this is very much bodily feedback, proprioceptive feedback is very much part of the experience. अगर मैं टाइट स्टैमरिंग कोशिश करना शुरू करूं, तो मेरी जो सेंसेशंस हैं मुझको बॉडीली फीडबैक अभी दे रही है कि जब मैं टाइट वॉलंटरी स्टैमरिंग कर रहा हूँ, लेकिन मैं आई कांटेक्ट के साथ कर रहा हूँ, मेरा और जो कम्युनिकेशन बिहेवियर है वो ऑन ट्रैक है, पॉजिंग भी कर रहा हूँ अभी मैं, लेकिन मैं थोड़ी सी जो जो प्रेशर जो है मेरे होठों में, मेरी जीभ में, वो अभी ज्यादा है compared to a light stammering posture that I've gone back to now. So tight, light. So the way to do a lot of this stuff is to plan ahead कि हमें किस टाइप की voluntary stammering करनी है. Let's back into that. एक second, just a minute. Let me close my door. Just a second.
अंकित, मेरी आवाज आ रही है?
हाँ सर।
ओके, ठीक है, ठीक है.
So just like trying to map this into what we are talking about now, अगर हमको that's why I explained that, voluntary stammering is stammering is on a continuum. We all stammer in different ways. कुछ लोग ब्लॉक करते हैं, कुछ लोग प्रोलॉन्गेशन करते हैं, कुछ लोग रेपिटेशन करते हैं, फ्रीक्वेंटली करते हैं, इनफ्रीक्वेंटली करते हैं. तो वॉलंटरी स्टैमरिंग इज अ स्किल. Learning it is like any other motor skill. You have to practice it, or practice it in many different forms. Light voluntary stammering, tight voluntary stammering, light frequent, light infrequent, tight infrequent. ये सब variation जो है, is also teaching the body the sensory sensations that come from different modes of stammering behavior. And it's all done with autonomy. It's done with a certain level of agency, as opposed to the real stammering experience, which quite often feels, out of control. This feels much more manageable.
Shall we explore this a little further with participants? So let us, Ankit, आप बताइए, give us some example where your body tells you about something important, about
अ,
हाँ.
So मतलब as a programmer, so I do not interact much with people. I interact with
Okay.
computers. So इसमें मतलब activity है कि मतलब as a as a programmer, so you actually train your fingers to write the code, right? And your hand
Okay.
movement
Yes.
become automated in terms of the keys you are
Yes.
pressing.
Yes.
So even if like my eyes are on screen, my hands are
Uh-huh.
trained to like automatically type the required
Okay.
keys. And there's also
Yes.
an automated error sense कि मतलब अगर गलती से कोई एक की मतलब टाइप हो गया, I know that immediately मतलब
Yes, yes,
before
yes. I
even
can, I can,
seeing it appear
yeah,
on
I
the
can
screen.
easily imagine that. But tell me one thing. When you're working on your keyboard for some time, do you
Hmm.
ever become aware that there's a little stretch or tension in your shoulders because you have been, stooping down on your keyboard, or your keyboard is a little bit away from your body? Do you ever become aware of the tension here, that you're trying to
Uh,
hold your shoulders high or hold your arms? Do you ever become aware of a tension in the neck muscles, back neck muscles, when you've been working for too long on your laptop?
yeah, only if I have been working for let's just say a couple of hours, or like if I am distracted in
Okay.
between,
Or do you
and
ever
then
feel,
I
do you feel ever pain on this upper part of the wrist, because you're holding your
sometimes,
hand all the time like this and not
yep, yep,
letting.
yep.
Another thing I will ask you, Ankit, to help you understand this concept, because we are trying to help you understand this idea that your body also gives you a lot of feedback, which sometimes we don't listen to, we are not even aware of, and that is why
Hmm.
a good opportunity is lost, and that is why we have to sometimes depend on others to tell us ki that was a good bouncing, that was a good prolongation. So to ask you further, when you had a good sleep, how do you know this next morning? How do you get to know this, that you slept very well? What kind of changes do you
Uh,
notice in your body?
my focus is very high. The next morning when I wake up, I do not feel tired or like I do not get easily distracted.
Okay,
Focus and
great.
like attention like seems very high.
Okay. And is there any difference in your mood or in your thoughts when you
हाँ
get up
right
in the
मतलब
morning, if you
yep,
sleep well? What kind of thoughts do you
yep.
have when you have slept well?
I'm little less frustrated when I wake up in
Ah.
the morning.
I mean, last night you may have been working on a problematic email, and your mind might be full. This world is a shitty place, and then you
Yes,
go to
yes,
sleep. And 8 hours later, when you get up, you get up with a very different kind of worldview. You
yep.
think that okay, world is a nice place. It has given me so much, है ना? So ये होता है ना,
Yes.
ये this is kind of thing which all of us experience every day. On a daily basis, we are experiencing this miracle that when you had a good sleep, your body is the first person to tell you that you had a
I
good
think
sleep.
मतलब अब बैगेज होता है मतलब लास्ट डे का वो
Hmm.
बैगेज मतलब रिड्यूस हो जाता है इफ यू आर
Ah,
मतलब हैविंग गुड स्लीप.
yes, yes. So can you think of anything else where your body is the prime witness or is the first witness?
अभी तो मतलब ऐसा ऐसा कुछ आ नहीं रहा दूसरा दिमाग में.
Has it ever happened that somebody enters your office and your body says, "Watch out, watch
नहीं
out"?
वर्चुअल में तो मतलब आई एम वर्किंग फ्रॉम होम तो वैसा होता नहीं है.
अच्छा, अच्छा, नहीं, कभी आप बाहर कभी जाते हैं, कोई अजनबी आपसे मिलता है, कभी ऐसा हुआ है कि द मोमेंट यू मीट दिस पर्सन, यू डू नॉट नो एनीथिंग अबाउट हिम और हर, बट योर बॉडी बिकम्स वेरी, योर बॉडी बिकम्स a little bit of alert, as if you don't expect anything good coming out of that person? Has it ever happened? Your body has ever given you a hint like this?
If a stranger is staring me,
Uh, then you get
then my
uncomfortable.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
Right.
alert.
Okay. Okay. So all of us have these kind of examples. So definitely, I totally okay. So now the challenge is that when you are using a technique or when you're using a voluntary stammering, then at that time also your body is telling you, your body is giving you feedback. Uh, To what extent are you conscious of that feedback at that time? I mean, do you are you 50% available to that feedback, or only 5%, or 100% aware? Starting with Dr. Vijay. Dr. Vijay, आप कितने परसेंट सुनते हो अपने फीडबैक को?
लास्ट डिस्कशन था वो थोड़ा सुन नहीं पाया सर मैं।
अच्छा, कोई बात नहीं, ठीक, कोई बात नहीं, म्यूट कर लो, ठीक है, कोई बात नहीं, ठीक है। अच्छा, ओवर टू डॉक्टर अमित। डॉक्टर अमित, या गो ऑन प्लीज।
So I was going to say कि क्या होता है कि speech is muscle memory. It's motor memory. So it's automated movement. It's the default is automated movement. So we don't think about it. We don't think about the movement because we are very busy using the movement to make meaning. इसलिए we get very accurate feedback from speech, but very often we don't attend to it because we are focused on making meaning. And that is the point of the speech, right? You want it to be automatic. Just like you're driving a car, you're learning to drive a car, you're at first very clear about how much space the car is taking on the road, how does the steering wheel feel, how does the clutch feel, how does the gas feel, how does the brake feel, what the coordination is. You have to pay attention to all this. लेकिन थोड़ी दिन के बाद जो है, थोड़ी प्रैक्टिस के साथ ये सारी मूवमेंट जो है ऑटोमेटेड हो जाती हैं. Typing is the same thing, which is Ankit's example. The pressure from the keys will let you know whether whether the stroke pressure is right or wrong. If you use a different kind of keyboard, you're a little surprised because now the pressure is different. The body is used to a different kind of pressure. You're using the Apple keyboard where the keys are very soft versus a regular keyboard where the keys are harder. You'll know the difference. It'll take you a little time to adjust. So when there's a change, yes, the body becomes very aware. Like, and if it's a routine periodic task like speech, we're actually not very aware. So I wanted to put a little plug in for cancellation. Because cancellation में जो O step है, जो observe का जो step है, जब हम रुकते हैं, पीछे जाते हैं, why is that O step, observation का step, जो reflection का step जो है, important क्यों है? Most people skip it. They rely mainly on motor rehearsal. अभी मैंने कैंसिलेशन की, फेक स्टैमर किया, कैंसिलेशन की मोटर पे, लेकिन मैं रुका नहीं बीच में. That is the typical response. We don't think about it. But if you really think about the steps in a cancellation, you want to go back and reflect because you want to attune to the physical sensations. Because we're typically not aware of the physical sensations. We have a sense कि क्या हो रहा है, but we don't have a full sense unless we make it a point to attend to it. So I just wanted to bring it back to bring this conversation back to the reflection point in a cancellation, because that is an opportunity to attune to biofeedback. Our body is giving us biofeedback. अब क्या हो रहा है? We don't attend to the biofeedback. We just respond to the pressure and the glitches and the disturbances and moving forward, and we keep pushing, we keep blinking our eyes and doing all this stuff. We know it is effortful. We know it is struggled. And we may be okay with it or we may not be okay with it, depending upon the situation, the risk factors and the cues, and how much risk is there in a situation, and the body's evaluating all these things. But we're often not very attuned to it. So attuning to the feedback, reflecting on the feedback is very much part of the cancellation prompt, the stop part of it, the O part of it. So yeah, so I like your comment. The body is the prime witness, and quite often
On the
we
crime
are
scene.
aware
On the crime
on,
scene. On the
on the
crime
crime
scene.
scene, the crime scene, prime witness on the social crime scene. Yes. So we the I just wanted a little twist of phrase, prime witness also means primacy to proprioception. We are aware of the stammering happening, about to happen, way before the listener is aware, way before it even shows up. राइट? जब हम एंटिसिपेशन फील करते हैं, एक्सपेक्ट करते हैं कि हम हकलाएंगे किसी शब्द के ऊपर, वो बॉडीली सेंसेशन पे आधारित है, सोमैटिक सेंसेशन पे आधारित है। और जब वो सोमैटिक सेंसेशन पे आधारित है, इसीलिए अगर हम जानते हैं, हमारी बॉडी जानती है कि इस सिचुएशन में जो है, the only way to get the word out is to push it. This connection between force or effort and continuity. I think it's very important to understand this fundamental point. There is a connection with there's an innate tendency in the body to restore continuity through force, through effort. And so that is what the body is remembering. कि इस शब्द के ऊपर मैं हकलाऊंगा, मैं जबरदस्त हकलाऊंगा, मुझे बहुत ब्लॉकिंग होगी, जानता हूं मैं ये सब कुछ होगा. And sometimes when it doesn't happen, we are surprised. That also does happen. But most often, why is stammering, anticipation of stammering, a self-fulfilling prophecy? Because the neurological system knows that in this word, it has been stuck in the past, and the only way to get through that word is by pushing it or avoiding it. Those are the two options, right? The push and the dodge. We either push through it or we dodge the moment. But anticipation can also be used very productively. So we talk a lot about anticipation. Like I say this in my classes in the expression that anticipation has a leading edge and a bleeding edge. It's like a sword. It has a bleeding edge and it has a leading edge. The bleeding edge is if you know that a moment of stammering is coming up and you don't know what to do about it, you don't have any other way of managing the motor tension in any way, then you feel helpless. We feel stuck. We feel helpless. We feel out of options. And we feel the only way. And therefore, because if it is a socially consequential event, then we go ahead and avoid it and do all this other stuff. But the leading edge of anticipation is, I know I'm going to stammer on that word. How do I reduce my struggle? Emotional struggle, intellectual struggle, physical struggle. Maybe I can tell the listener that I stammer. Maybe I can lead with self-disclosure. Maybe I can start doing some voluntary stammering ahead of time so I can get desensitized to the moment of stammering that's coming up. Maybe I can use a cancellation. Maybe I can use a roll out. So now my options, the same anticipation that I felt that was crippling, the same anxiety, the same anticipation that gave me a lot of anxiety. Now, instead of feeling reflexive about the moment, I'm being reflective about the moment. I'm thinking about it and say, ये word आने वाला है, ये stammering moment आने वाली है, इसको manage करने के लिए मैं क्या कर सकता हूँ? Emotionally क्या कर सकता हूँ? Intellectually क्या कर सकता हूँ? Physically क्या कर सकता हूँ? So all this is about like tuning into bodily sensations and recognizing that our body is giving us physical, feedback all the time. But sometimes we attend to it and often we don't. If you're in the, why is it difficult to use these techniques on a regular basis across multiple environments? Because the emotional system and the speech system are really well linked. Everything regarding emotions goes through speech. Laughter goes through speech, crying goes through speech, anxiety goes through speech, time pressure everything goes through speech. And therefore, attuning into it on a regular basis is very, very difficult. Therefore, closed-ended practice. You don't do it all day. You develop the skill by engaging in small doses of behavior frequently. अगर voluntary stammering करनी है तो इस टाइप की अवेयरनेस जो है सारे दिन नहीं होगी, लेकिन 2-3 बार अगर मैंने प्री डिसाइड किया, रिफ्लेक्टिवली प्री डिसाइड किया कि मैं इस व्यक्ति के साथ, इस एनवायरनमेंट के साथ थोड़ी सी वॉलंटरी स्टैमिनिंग करूंगा, then I can do it in a premeditated way for short periods of time. I can keep the focus, I can keep the attention, all of these things will happen. So there are lots of concepts that are weaved in here, but the point is that the body is the prime witness. The question is, are we listening? Are we paying attention?
So shall we go to breakout room with a little question like, why are we not aware of this somatic feedback, and how to become more aware of somatic feedback?
Yeah,
It'll
so
give us
one
some.
way, so we can certainly have that conversation. The problem with a whole lot of self-focused attention like this is that it takes away from the meaning of what we're trying to communicate quite often. One of the prompts that we can use, if you like, is what you introduced in the chat. It's like, how do we, like, what are some ways of stammering in a confident way? And then if you think about using your bodily sensations, like how do you use your bodily sensation to stammer what does stammering confidently even mean? What does it look like? What does it feel like? अपने perspective से क्या feel, what is the, how does it feel like somatically as Dhruv used the word? How does it feel like? How does it look visually? To me, as a person who stammers, what does me looking like a confident person look like? And to a listener, what does it look like? Um, there aren't a lot of people here, so we can just maybe not even breakouts. Maybe we can just chat about it.
Yeah, we
Um,
can do that. Yes, yes,
so,
yes.
like, if anybody wants to weigh in on this,
Hmm.
what does stammering? What does comfortable stammering
Yes, I think
feel
maybe
like?
we can give
Look like?
give Ankit a chance to
Sure,
start the
sure.
discussion. Ankit, over to
sure.
you. Hope you have understood the question.
Okay, so uh, for me, like I have never felt confident stammering.
Mhm.
Uh, the only uh, environment I'm able to like confidently stammer is while reading books. With person, there are two things which like stops me from. So my body is aware that like I have stammered and like I could correct it with cancellation and all, but I never go into it because there is time pressure
Mhm.
and there is also a sense of embarrassment. So
Mhm.
these two things are like keeping me away from actually practicing with a person.
Mhm. So, Ankit, you said there were two things. Can you go over them again?
Time pressure and embarrassment.
Okay.
Embarrassment is not a factor with when there is a single person, but in in a group kind of setting. But a
Yeah.
time pressure is always there.
Yeah, yeah. Time pressure is definitely there. So if you could resist time pressure a little bit,
Mm.
and if you could feel no embarrassment to less embarrassment or nominal embarrassment, what would that experience feel like? Like, would that be confident? Would you feel more confident then?
I would be more relaxed and I can turn my relaxation into confidence.
Okay. So emotionally, physically in the body, you would know what relaxation feels like, and then you would think that confidence would like ensue from that naturally.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
And like not initially, but once I have repeated the activity like several times, then it
Yeah.
will eventually build up.
Yeah. Yeah. With practice over time, it'll get a
Yes,
little,
yes.
it will get a little better. Okay, good. Thank you for your input. मनीष आपको क्या लगता है?
हाँ जी। एक बार हिंदी में थोड़ा सा हिंदी में रिपीट करना।
हाँ, हिंदी में सवाल ये है कि अम, हम जानते हैं, इम्प्लिसिटली जानते हैं कि कुछ लोग ज्यादा कॉन्फिडेंटली स्टैमर कर सकते हैं और कुछ लोग कम कॉन्फिडेंटली स्टैमर करते हैं। कुछ लोग थोड़े कंफर्टेबल लगते हैं स्टैमरिंग करते हुए और काफी लोग अनकंफर्टेबल लगते हैं स्टैमरिंग करते हुए। तो आपको क्या लगता है, आपको कॉन्फिडेंट और कंफर्टेबल स्टैमरिंग के फीचर्स क्या होंगे आपके मुताबिक?
मैं एक दो पर्सन्स को जानता हूँ जो
हम्म।
रिपीटेशंस करते हैं।
हम्म।
वो एक बात को दो रिपीट करके ही बोलते हैं, और
हम्म।
वो काफी अच्छी वर्किंग है उनकी, और कभी भी वो हेजिटेट नहीं होते। मैंने
हम्म।
उनकी वर्किंग की है। तो वो इसका मतलब वो स्टैमरिंग को वो उन्होंने एक्सेप्ट भी कर लिया है, और वो काफी कंफर्ट में भी है, और
हम्म।
उन्होंने इसको अपने ग्रोथ में या अपने काम में बाधा नहीं माना है।
हम्म।
और मैंने अभी आज ही एक संदीप माहेश्वरी की वीडियो देखी थी।
हम्म।
काफी अच्छी थी। उसमें ये था कि जैसे स्टेज फियर होता है, तो उन्होंने कहा था कि स्टेज फियर होता है, क्यों होता है कि सामने वाला हमें जज करेगा, हमें
हम्म।
कभी बेवकूफ ना मन समझे। तो संदीप जी ने कहा था कि अपने आप को कभी कभी बेवकूफ भी समझना चाहिए।
हम्म।
जब हम खुद अपने आप को बेवकूफ समझ लेंगे, तो सामने वाला फिर कभी सामने वाला चाहे बोले या कहे, तो हमें उसका फर्क नहीं पड़ेगा। तो हम उस लेवल को पार कर चुके होंगे कि
हम्म।
यदि कोई हंसेगा भी, तो हम उसका हमारे ऊपर फर्क नहीं पड़ेगा। तो
हम्म।
ऐसे ही स्टार्टिंग लेवल में हम स्टैमरिंग से रिलेट करें, तो
हम्म।
हम ये तो मान ही ले कि स्टैमरिंग है हमें।
हम्म।
जब हम ये मानकर बोलेंगे, और यदि और ये मानने के बाद जब हम स्टैमरिंग भी करते हैं या टेक्निक भी यूज करते हैं, इसको दूसरे तरीके से ये बोलूं कि हमें एक तो स्टैमरिंग करके बोलना है, और दूसरा हमें टेक्निक के साथ बोलना है, विद कंट्रोल वे से। तो हमें बोलना तो पड़ेगा ही। तो इन दोनों में हम कंट्रोल्ड स्टैमरिंग के साथ बोले, वो ज्यादा बेटर होगा, ताकि हम अपनी बात को अच्छे से समझा पाए। हाँ जी।
हम्म। थैंक यू। आपने दो तीन चीजें कहीं मैंने नोट किया, मैंने आपको I'll say it at the end, I'll summarize a little bit at the end. Thank you for your input. Let's go to Dhruv.
हाँ, तो I mean, मैं द डेमोन्स्ट्रेट कर सकता हूँ, I think,
Mm-hmm.
क्योंकि that'll be just fun. So
Mm-hmm.
I guess I'll try to stammer first confidently, and then we can
Mm-hmm.
share, and then I'll also do it unconfidently, and then we can like, or maybe I'll do it unconfidently first, and then I'll do it confidently. Okay.
Okay.
So I'll say that I'm in. Anyway, I'll just start. So I I am in P- 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 Pune to today. That was scene one. And now
Scene
scene
one.
two is I'm in Pune today. That's scene two. Um,
Okay. What is the difference? What did you do intentionally? What did you change between the scene one and scene one, and between scene one and two?
I think that I well yeah. So one thing was eye contact. I was keeping eye contact. I was keeping my head up.
Mm-hmm.
I was speaking with more for forward flowing. So like I kept on like I wouldn't go back into the word or a sentence or restart. I just keep
Yeah.
going.
Yeah.
Um, I was like trying to smile a little bit. Maybe I didn't smile as much as I wanted to, but yeah, I was
Yeah.
trying to just be more at ease and relaxed.
Okay.
Um, and yeah, I think also like my perception of myself was better and more confident. Like in the first scene, I think I was kind of like think, thinking about what all of you are thinking about me. So
Mhm.
I was kind of taking on the embarrassment or the shame. And then in scene
Mhm.
two, I think I was just projecting that, yeah, I guess projecting confidence that it's okay that I'm stammering. I'm still gonna keep talking and move forward.
Yeah. Okay.
More courageous, I guess.
More courageous. Okay. I like that. That's great. Uh, ओके अगर डॉक्टर विजय कुछ बोलना चाहते हैं तो बता दीजिए अगर आप नॉइजी एनवायरनमेंट में नहीं हैं अगर हैं तो आप वी कैन स्किप यू क्या लगता है आपको
I think we have to skip him. He's not here. Oh, he's here. Yeah.
ही
विजय
इज
अगर
हियर
आप
बट ही इज इन
हाँ
नॉइजियर
हाँ
एनवायरनमेंट सो मे
maybe
बी
he is outside. हाँ. I
ओके
think we can skip him.
so this is an interesting so I'll ask you as well Dr. Sachin आपको क्या लगता है what is your sense of comf what is your sense of comfortable and confident communication I mean
I think.
confident communication that happens because of a
Uh,
different kind of a stammering posture.
I think, as Dhruv said, his the last observation was the most significant one, that there was a change in uh, in consciousness also. That his
Mm,
consciousness was very different second time. And I think,
mm,
for me also, even if I'm speaking fluently, but if I'm frightened, then that is not good enough for me. I feel
mm,
that being at ease with ourselves and with our audience, with our topic, with that moment, uh,
mm,
is uh, is requirement number one of
mm,
a good communication, or even good stammering, or good voluntary stammering.
mm.
If I'm even if I'm doing voluntarily stammering, if I'm
Okay.
able to put a smile on my face, that totally changes its meaning for me as well
Mm,
as for my audience. So I think
mm,
these are very important things. Having a kind of intentionality that I'm doing it myself, I'm doing it as a Dhruv said it already, very courageous person. I'm a courageous person. I'm
mm.
doing it on my own.
Yeah.
That I think is important ingredient. What is your
Yeah, no,
summary?
this is I mean mine is quite similar to all of these things. I it was an interesting sort of an assortment of reactions to the same question. I think Ankit was sort of like bigger picture when he said if I can resist time pressure, if I'm not embarrassed, then that makes me feel more confident. Um, and if I can be if I can be bold as to say that that was unpacked by Manish to a certain extent, what that might mean. So he said कि जो वो लोग वो लोगों को जानते हैं जो easy repetition करते हैं और and he also linked it to controlled stammering or more manageable stammering or easier stammering, what I call light stammering. So um, I think physical struggle in the stammering experience, and struggle is manifold. Struggle is emotional struggle, intellectual struggle, physical struggle. If you can lower the struggle,
Yes.
if you can identify the points of struggle, and Dhruv will recognize this name very well when I say it. Vivian's Iskin says, makes a very clear distinction between stammering and struggling. You
Yes.
know, we may not have a choice to struggle. I mean, we may not have a choice to stammer, but we have a choice in the struggle. It's kind of like the Buddhist principle of pain and suffering. You may not have a choice in the pain, but you have some choice in the suffering to turn that pain into suffering. So I see that as a sort of an analogy of struggling versus stammering and pain versus suffering. And I think as Dr. Achin said as well, it's like being present in the moment. is a big part of it. I think a lot of times because there's so many factors, we're often not present in a conversation, I feel. I never used to be very present in conversations in the past because this whole thing about will I stammer, will I not stammer, how do I avoid stammering, how do I prevent stammering, what is this person thinking of me? Yes, the moment all these ideas come into our heads, it's very difficult to be in the moment. It's very difficult to be in the present. And unless we are in the present, we can't actually do the kinds of things that we want to do to feel more confident and to feel more comfortable. I think so. I would say to me, the biggest priority is the presence. But the presence is also like a top down and bottom up. At one level, you want to establish presence, but by doing certain behaviors, you get more present. So it works both ways. It is like a circular loop. Um, Eye contact, to Dhruv's point, I think eye contact is crucial. It's a big part of feeling confident and appearing confident, both. And the example that he gave between scene one and scene two is perfect. So eye contact is a big one because that means you're not fleeing. Eye contact is Evasion of eye contact is one of the first avoidances that we learn as children. Stays with us for a very long time. It's the prime example of a flight response, uh, evading the eye contact. So you can normalize eye contact even if culturally you're not programmed to make a lot of eye contact when you talk to somebody, because culturally maybe it's not acceptable to make a lot of eye contact. If you can just make eye contact during a moment of stammering, that becomes an important thing. So that's why I think voluntary stammering is so important, because with a voluntary stammer, you can actually force yourself to make some eye contact. So coming back to Ankit's point, one way to resist time pressure is to actually make eye contact. As weird as that sounds, if you are looking at somebody in the eye and stammering, and you can learn to do that, um, that normalizes a lot of the social interaction. So that's one thing. That's a big one on my list as well. Um, Stammering in a forward-moving way. So a pull out or a voluntary stammering with a pull out or a cancellation. All of these things are going to allow us to move forward in a way where the breaks in our speech are not roadblocks, but speed bumps. Right? There is a difference between a speed bump
Yes.
and a road block. So projecting onto the listener, that's a big one. That's a big thing we do. We project a lot onto to the listener. How are they thinking? How am I being perceived? So if we can if we can if we can if you can get into a mindset where we think that the communicative responsibility doesn't lie entirely on me, but that's that the communicative responsibility for this exchange lies in the dynamic, not just in me alone, but in the dynamic. I think that will shift things a little bit over time if we sort of adopt a different sort of a mindset. But in terms of actual behaviors, I would put stammering with eye contact as top of the list.
I just
Absolutely
want to
top of the list.
I just want to add one thing to that. Ankit
Hmm.
said something about embarrassment also. And
Hmm.
I just want to add this thing that if you could just do one thing, master one skill, as you said, eye contact. Eye contact will reduce embarrassment also. I have a hunch. And also it will help him to withstand the time pressure. Both
Yeah.
time pressure and embarrassment could be significantly dented by picking up this one skill, looking into people's eyes when you're talking, even when you're
Yeah.
stammering. You look
Yeah.
into their eyes, I think embarrassment will be much less.
Yeah.
So
And this is actually very difficult. Let's be completely honest. If we have stammered all our lives by evading eye contact, making eye contact is not going to come naturally just like that, the
Yes,
snap of a
yes.
finger. It's not going to
No.
come like that because our neurology has been primed to sort of deal with the moment of stammering in this way. Look
Mm.
away, jerk your head, put the effort in, and then move forward. So that's our what body's trained to do that.
Will it
So
help? Will it
hmm,
help for Ankit or for anybody else to practice with with a mirror? Look into the mirror
I
and
think
do
it would
voluntary
not hurt at
stammering.
all. I think it's a good idea to practice with a mirror, do some voluntary stammering in front of the mirror. But quickly transition that to adding an observer in the room while you're doing that.
Yes, yes. Or he can
See,
even
this is
begin
this,
with the when he's attending to phone calls. Even at that time, he can have a mirror somewhere
yeah, yeah,
in front and watch
yeah,
himself as he's talking on phone. And as you said, very
absolutely.
correctly said that he must transition it to having a living human being in the room.
Yeah, yeah.
Ankit, I hope you are listening to all this wonderful ideas coming from us.
Yeah, yeah, Sachin sir. So my major secondary is to like avoid eye contact, and
Ah,
and when I'm talking
yes.
to someone, right? So I'm not actually like uh, attentive to his face, but towards my face. I'm actually looking myself when I'm talking to someone over like a Zoom or other apps.
Yes, yes,
Mm.
yes.
So one of the things you can do, Ankit, just as an idea, is that if you wanted to create a little practice session with another TISA member,
Hmm.
that might be the easiest thing to do. You can both practice some like some light voluntary stammering, whether it's with a prolongation pattern like that, or a repetitious or oscillatory pattern like that. Whatever it is, you can do harder blocks. You can do lighter blocks. So lighter blocking, lighter bouncing, more bouncing, being experimental with all this speech behavior with eye contact, with the TISA member, where it's a completely safe space. You're not being evaluated, you're not being judged, you're just being supported. You can certainly the community gives us options here. The TISA community, gives us options to actually experience that. And you can very easily build in maybe 2, 3 days of practice, 5 minutes, 5 minutes, 5 minutes here, just like that. Whatever you're doing, whether you're reading or you're talking, you're spontaneously formulating something, or you're doing it in a scripted way, whatever that is. But building some islands of practice, building some practice like this where you do some voluntary stammering with eye contact will at least give you the experience of doing it. And then if you can record yourself while you're doing it virtually, which is easy to do, just do a Zoom recording. And that becomes your own, what is called the video self model. Now watch it. And next time you go and do voluntary stammering somewhere else out in the community, if you ever get there and whenever you get there, you watch the model and you try to sort of kind of try to emulate the model. That would be the next step. So there's a whole ways of like transitioning this into like more and more social spaces. But the easiest thing, the easiest recourse would be to just practice some voluntary stammering with eye contact with another TSM member 2 or 3 times in a week. And you'll feel differently about it. And if you want to give yourself data about how you feel about, reflect on it in a journal, write about it. Now you've closed it, now you've closed the loop. You've attempted, you have a target in mind, you've followed the plan, you've finished the target, now you close the loop by writing about it.
Sure, sir.
Okay. So shall we wind up? And before we wind up, I just want to have a quick one-to-one with Dr. Amit. Dr. Amit, do you have anything more to
No,
add?
I'm
Huh?
good. No, I'm good.
Does anyone else have any question or anything? Okay. So I'll just